In last week's episode of our Trail 70 series, Andy showed us what the CT70 can do, and now we're going to take you through the full engine rebuild on our own Trail 70. Today on episode 2 of our Honda Trail 70 build, we're going to actually start putting this bike together. We're also going to show you what's broken on the inside of our motor. Right now our engine is in a million different pieces and the frame has nothing on it. So we're starting from square one, but Andy has all the parts and all of the knowledge to get this motor back together, and before he does, he's going to show us everything that was wrong with the engine, and in this episode you're going to see it go back together.
Okay, this is the filter in that CT70. We're going to start with it. This is in hideous shape. I'll explain down what else is going. But yeah, hard to believe it's a screen.
That's beautiful.
And that'll come out nice. This will be reused. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no holes in it. But that is really pretty bad. You can see the motor was overheated essentially because of that, because the oil was not getting up to the top end. Case breather, this was clogged. If you're not getting the release of the internal pressures gone, it is not going to be happy. This is a lot of clutch material right here.
Damn.
And this is obviously from sitting 12 years as well. It's not anything I'm worried about. This would be typical. But being that you can see that there on the clutch, this is a brand new clutch. Brand new plates. Seals, the clip was done. But this is ultimately like a filter on these automatic clutches. And what they do is a lot of the material winds up inside this cap. So this is all clutch material that was never removed. You got to take that stuff out or it just all winds up back in the engine and going through all the parts and the bearings. This is a brand new piston. It might have maybe 10 hours by my estimate on it. And the problem was, as you can see on the skirts, this is one side, this is the top side of the skirt. This is the bottom side, and this is really was not happy at all as far as, you know, overheating. Minimum of overheating, and when it overheats, they get to the point where they're going to start to seize. I can polish a lot of this stuff out, and if it still meets spec, then I'll still use it. Most of these older motors, vintage, and all have failure points, and it's usually because of something that an owner had done. So these are two mounts right here that are for the foot pegs, And these strip out really easy, so a lot of times the guys will just ram another bigger fastener in there just to make it work, and then this cracks or that cracks, and then you have a massive oil leak. Exxon Valdez like oil leak. It's not going to go away. Along with this issue here that we talked about, same thing. Honda makes improvements along the way too, being that this is first generation. The next generations after 72, this was one solid piece. This was no longer a hole there.
So the way that this cracks, you were saying, is that even on a kickstand fall, if the bike just falls over, it punches the shifter, which is connected to this, and that can just snap this.
Yes. And so what this is, when it's mounted in the bike, it's like this, and how it's set. And when this gets punched through, this breaks that tab, and that's exactly what happened on that. When this bike will be done, you'll see the finished result. But what I do is I run a spacer in between the shift lever and the case that's on the shift shaft. And if it ever kind of wants to go that way again, it's gonna be protected. So you do that both on 4-speed manuals and the 3-speed automatics, and it just firms everything up. Makes for better shifts as well. It's a stone, and it's got a very close to zero face-to-face across plane. So basically what I have here is I do this on every surface that is flat and machined. So my setup here is to do the whole head. I do all these surfaces to get them all brand new, smooth, and again, sealing, because of the fact that gaskets, gasket sealer, any of that kind of stuff, that's all fair and game, but when it's prepped properly, it's just like it's right out of the factory. These are, matter of fact, that might look like our little carb for this little show here.
Yeah, that looks clean.
That looks like a nice one. These are all the intakes as well. So these are going to be, when I do these heads, our intake, excuse me, that was upside down, and carb, I will not ever just expect these things to be good. So I drill these out and helicoil them. This is usually a real problem area of air leaks. And when you got air leaks, they don't idle well, they don't run well, and they don't do well. So the sandpaper thing that I showed you over there, all this gets done. All these parts get done too. Okay, so I'll take these parts and I'll make sure they're planed out and flat,
right,
before I put a new fresh gasket and material on there. I just wanted to show you guys this. This book has been with me since 7th grade. It has really been to heck and back, and it's really still a very valuable tool. I also do have a factory manual for it as well. Even as many motors as I've built, you still got to have the specs. You still got to look. You still got to just follow through, because there's nothing worse than getting something done, case is all put together, and it's not shifting.
The engine is, of course, not the only part of our CT70 that needs some attention, so Andy is going through and doing a wet sand and buff on the original paint of this CT70 rather than giving it a respray. And what's awesome about that is that the bike has this amazing gold shine, but it still has patina and character in it. And like Andy says, your paint is only ever original once, so you might as well preserve it for as long as you can. However, one thing that is new are the decals on the side of the frame. A simple wiring harness for a bike with simple electronics, snakes through the frame before the engine goes in, and of course, some of the other parts need some shining up too, but this frame is ready for an engine. This whole series couldn't have happened without our friends over at Rider Justice. They're a law firm that protects riders' rights because they're riders themselves. And when this CT70 goes up for auction after it's completely put together, all of the proceeds will go to benefit a charity called Biker Down. And the team at Biker Down helps riders and their families after an incident with all kinds of support that will help you get back on the road. So these are two organizations that look out for the riding community, and when this bike is done, it's going to help benefit Biker Down, and it's going to be a great bike for whoever picks it up. And just like that, with tons and tons of hard work from Andy, who we can't thank enough for this, these components are ready to go together. So in the next episode on this trail build series, you're actually going to see the bike come together and finish up with its first start, and that's all going to happen really quickly. So you've got that to look forward to. Anyways, that's all for this video, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. I can see just riding off into the sunset, just like this. It's even the color of a sunset. Here we go.